They thought he would break. A new recruit, fresh-faced and nervous, standing in formation. The drill sergeant shouted, pushed, and tested him beyond his limits. But no one expected what would happen when the general noticed the metal pinned to his chest and froze. It was the first day at boot camp. The barracks smelled of sweat and determination. Young men and women lined up, unsure of the grueling weeks ahead. Among them was James. He was smaller than most recruits, his shoulders tense under the weight of his uniform. He didn't speak much. He kept his eyes forward and his hands at his sides. Some cadets whispered that he wouldn't survive his first week. Some even laughed at the way he stumbled during drills. The drill sergeant was relentless. He barked commands, demanded perfection, and punished any mistake without mercy. James stumbled during push-ups. He fell behind during runs. Each failure earned a sharp shout, a slam of a fist into the barracks floor, a warning that he wasn't fit for the line of duty. By the end of the morning, James was exhausted. His muscles burned. His lungs ached. He felt the eyes of his peers on him, waiting for him to collapse. The drill sergeant loomed over him. "You're weak. You're nothing," he snapped. James's hands shook as he rose from the ground. He wanted to quit. He wanted to vanish. But he remembered something his father had told him before leaving for service. "Wear courage like armor, son. One day it will speak for you." James clenched his fists, forcing himself to stand taller. That afternoon, the general arrived to inspect the recruits. He walked along the line, his sharp eyes scanning each face. The drill sergeant puffed out his chest, proud of how much he had broken the new recruits. When he reached James, his gaze fell to something pinned to the recruit's chest, a small, shining medal. A Navy cross. The drill sergeant froze mid-sentence. The general stopped. The room went silent. He leaned closer and whispered, almost to himself, This is the Navy Cross of Lieutenant Michael Carter. Your father?" James swallowed hard. "Yes, sir." The general's eyes softened. Every harsh word the drill sergeant had shouted seemed to vanish into the air. The general's voice carried across the field. "This medal is not just metal. It is bravery, sacrifice, and legacy. Do you understand, Sergeant?" The drill sergeant's face turned pale. He looked at James not as a weak recruit, but as a young man carrying his father's courage in every heartbeat. James stood straighter than ever before. His peers watched in awe as the general saluted him. Hands that had been trembling now steadied. The recruits felt the weight of history in that moment. The drill sergeant, humbled, nodded silently. He stepped back and allowed James to lead the next formation. Applause from the other recruits rang out, not forced, but genuine. They saw a young man who had carried more than just his own fears. He carried his father's honor. From that day forward, James was no longer seen as the timid recruit. The drill sergeant trained him with respect. Other recruits sought his guidance. He led with quiet strength, never boasting, never forgetting the medal on his chest. Years later, when James became an officer himself, he carried his father's Navy Cross in every ceremony. It reminded him that courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. And sometimes it can change even the toughest heart. If this story touched you, share your thoughts below. And subscribe for more powerful stories of bravery, sacrifice, and the families who shape heroes in silence. Because legacy doesn't fade. And courage lives on forever.